Formula One arrives late in China after cargo issues. New Concord Agreement is signed, the document that governs Formula One's finances now until 2030. FIA president seeks re-election under heavy fire. And the story of the return of the V10s emerges by chance. Don't fall for it. Irishman Eddie Jordan, founder of the beloved Formula One team, passes away. Victim of cancer. Rear wing rules undergo a new revision, already taking effect this weekend. Thursday, March 20th, 2025. These are the Media Day news in preparation for the Chinese Grand Prix. Sit down so we can talk about everything. Formula One arrived late in China after issues with the cargo coming from Australia. It might seem that Australia and China, just because they are on the same side of the world, are close. But that's not exactly the case. I checked here. And of course, China is a large country and so is Australia. It depends on where you depart from. But it takes, on average, from 8.5 to 10.5 hours of flight. It's like from here to Portugal. It's far. With the delays in leaving Australia, the cargo also arrived late in China, and arriving late in China, especially the Pirelli cargo, and without tires, there's no race. The teams were authorized by the FIA to shorten their curfew period. The curfew is similar to a rule in the Brazilian T-Series called the intershift interval, meaning you cannot work in a shorter interval of 11 hours between the day that ends and the day that begins. For what? So that you can rest. In the past, in Formula One, it was common for teams to work through the night, changing engines, performing maintenance, preparing cars, and pushing their team of mechanics and engineers to the limits of what the human body and mind can endure. The rule was then established, and this weekend, due to a force majeure, the delay of the cargo, it was relaxed, reducing the interval from 11.5 hours to 5 and 6. Last week in Melbourne, a new Concord Agreement was signed, although not widely reported, a document that governs the financial obligations of Formula One and the 10, now 11 teams. This document is usually valid in intervals of 5 years. Therefore, it starts to take effect in 2026 and then covers 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Most of the main points remain in effect, such as Ferrari receiving a bit more for being Ferrari. There is a forecast of an entry of 450 million to be divided among the 10 existing teams coming from GM Cadillac. The most important change is that this amount, which was 200, rises to $600 million. Therefore, this is what a potential 12th team will have to pay. In the wake of these movements, Concord Agreement, etc., the conversation emerged that V10 engines could return starting in 2028. And then I posted on Twitter, reposted on Instagram, a reflection. I'm not a wizard, I'm not a prophet, I don't see the future. But analyzing what we have on the table, it becomes evident that the return of V10 engines makes no sense at all. Rodrigo, Nutella doesn't like noisy cars. No, dear, not at all. For me, I'd bring back the V12s. I'd have 36 cars on the grid and bring back pre-qualifying. The point is, I've mentioned this in several podcasts where I was invited, that Formula One has managed to survive by adapting its engines to what the automotive industry needed. Just take a look. In 2012, there were 3 engine suppliers. In 2026, there will be 6. And in 2028, possibly 7 with the arrival of Cadillac. Why? Because Formula One moved towards hybrid engines, and that's what manufacturers want to develop. Oh, but the V10 is much cooler, they could make a simple engine, etc. It doesn't justify, it doesn't make sense for these companies to explain to their boards, to their accountants, to their shareholders, that they are spending a fortune on outdated engines, even though they are beautifully noisy, which will have no application in street cars. Electrification, and I'm not just talking about electric cars, I'm talking about hybrid cars like those in Formula One, is a one-way path. Rodrigo, but I read here and there that Red Bull is putting pressure and so on, and such. So, not even that should be true. For about 5 years now, Red Bull has been spending a fortune on an engine factory that now has Ford's support. And all of this is tied up in contracts. If Formula One decides in 2028 to go back to V10 engines, what will happen is that the manufacturers will simply leave because they are spending a lot of money developing engines, all of them, Mercedes, the Ferrari, Honda, Red Bull powertrain, Audi, which is coming next year. And if along the way Formula One suddenly decides no, in 2028 it's V10 for everyone, they say, damn, but we signed these commitments here. Let's all go with the engines. We are making these investments, spending this money. Can you give me one of those? It wouldn't make sense, I repeat, after all this effort, with everyone signing, all this backstage struggle to make companies agree on a common rule for everyone, to go back just because we like V10 engines. So, where does this come from? There is someone running for re-election for the FIA presidency this year. Mohammed, look, the key becomes 𝘾𝙤𝙥𝙮𝙧𝙞𝙤𝙡, and he is under heavy fire in the press after the bad reaction to the issue of profanity and phrases considered inappropriate on the radio, with the World Rally Championship drivers flatly refusing to speak, with the press and the F1 drivers having applied enough pressure for the FIA to back down. And they said no. On the radio it's allowed as long as it's not insulting the referees, or in this case, the stewards. Additionally, behind the scenes, there is an ongoing lawsuit from 𝘾𝙤𝙥 that F2 and F3 team that tried to enter F1 in that selection process where Andretti was chosen, seeking damages against the FIA for not being selected. Rodrigo, but they knew they might not be chosen, right? Yes, they knew, but their claim in court is that the process conducted by the FIA and Mr. 𝘾𝙤𝙥 was not done properly, and that their elimination is not supported by the rules established in the selection process. And here, I add an element. Did you know that Mr. 𝘾𝙤𝙥 owns shares in General Motors? That complicates things, doesn't it? Exactly, 𝘾𝙤𝙥 has already won the case. On the merits, they are already justified. And at this current moment, the so-called quantum is being discussed. How much do they have to receive? It's said to be in the tens of millions of dollars, and this will hurt the financial results of the FIA, which will have to ask for money from Formula One. In the same week, David Richards, the guy who was the boss of Bar Honda, owner of ProDrive, who managed Subaru's rally cars, and one of the most important political figures in English motorsport, who was a campaign supporter of Ben Sulayem in his first election in 2021, published a letter criticizing the person he helped elect back then, expressing doubts about the campaign promises that were not fulfilled. Behind the scenes, there's even talk of a possible candidacy from Susie Wolff from the F1 Academy, wife of Toto Wolff and associated with Mercedes, as an opposition candidate to face Sulayem. But do you notice that when things start to close in, he always comes out with a statement like this? So, it's possible, though not certain, that he might have planted this in the press. And in a few days, he might appear supporting the initiative and everyone will say, look at that, this guy is actually cool. Therefore, besides not making sense, it still seems that this kind of rumor benefits someone. And now, one of the most enjoyable moments of working with this business here, opening a box full of toy cars that was shipped to my house. Because at least for a moment, I can think that they are for me. But they are not for me, they are for you, the channel subscribers. Courtesy of Formula Collection, our partner that every month throughout the season provides 3 miniatures for us to raffle off to our subscribers, which are added to the 3 books from Gulliver Publishing that we also raffle off to our audience. So, let's see what's inside here. He sent more than 3 cars. He also sent these circuits. And we have the first 3 of the season: Melbourne, Suzuka, and Shanghai. This weekend, you can decorate your table, your house, your wall, your office. In addition, the beautiful RB16B, which raced at in Istanbul Park in that tribute livery to Honda, remember? In 2021, Leclerc's SF23. In the year 2023, the McLaren MCL38 special livery. That raced in Monaco last year. Do you remember? And they will be raffled for you in the live stream this weekend after the race at 6 p.m. You have to be a subscribed member of the channel, join and shout, I want it, in all the 4 plans we have. You go there and we'll see the prices. Gene Haas, Paddock Pass, Stefano Domenicali, and Lawrence Stroll are always competing for some prize. Whether it's a book, a miniature, these gifts here to decorate your home. Besides other things that I am negotiating, I can't announce yet, but when you find out, you'll be amazed. Keep your fingers crossed for the deal to go through, because if it does, it will be really cool. I'll leave the link to the Formula Collection Instagram below, with a 5% discount coupon for us to start the year at full throttle over there. As you already know, miniatures are also a house favorite here. There are even some rather large miniatures here, as you can already see. Edmund, Eddie, Jordan, founder of the team, who was not only involved in Formula One, passed away today at the age of 76. Jordan, where several important drivers passed through, including Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello, Ed Irvine, Jordan Trulli, Giancarlo Fisichella, Damon Hill, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Ralf Schumacher. A lot of people, including Martin Barnard, who ended his Formula One career there. Today, he is a commentator and raced with Jordan in Formula 3. In that legendary Formula One championship in '83, the year I was born, when he and Senna fought for the title. They fought, even involving an accident. Jordan was battling prostate and bladder cancer. He had announced in recent months that it was a very aggressive cancer, but that he was undergoing treatment. And today we were then surprised by the news of his passing. A great guy. He has many stories, including some I've already shared here on the channel. I remember off the top of my head one recently about when he outsmarted DHL to not lose the sponsorship and convinced the company to change its color. It's not even a month since I published that story. Formula One arrives in China with the rules for reinforced rear wings. Once again, the goal is to prevent the exploitation of the so-called mini DRS, which was observed by the FIA during the preseason. And we have some teams that could, on tracks with long straights, as will be the case this weekend in China, try to take advantage of something. The so-called mini DRS is that cleverness of using the two flaps, opening at high speed and bending slightly to let the air pass. Among them, this happened, for example, in Baku. Last year, when cameras caught Oscar Piastri's car on the straight under intense wind with a flap lifting, and there was no load test to specifically identify upward forces, only downward forces to see if the wings were bending. Article 315.17 was updated. A symmetrical vertical load of 750 N will be applied carefully to the left end and the right end and measure. And the flap cannot change position beyond 0.75 millimeter. This weekend in China and in the other Grand Prix, skipping one next week in Japan at Suzuka, this limit will be even tighter to 𝑘𝑡. Previously, the tolerance was up to a full 2 meters. But the FIA has already stated that at the Australian Grand Prix inspection, none of the teams were caught violating anything, even considering the new rule. Everything was in order. I think the concern is with what might come up in the future. We already have Formula One this weekend. Here are the schedules that are posted on our social media, pinned on Instagram and Twitter. And if you are part of our Telegram and WhatsApp notification groups, you have already received them. I encourage you to join so you don't miss anything. I'll talk about that in a bit. At 12:30 a.m., the free practice slot, and at 4:30 a.m., the sprint race qualifying. It's already a sprint weekend, one of the 6 we have in the season. From Friday night to Saturday at midnight, the sprint, and at 4 a.m., the qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix. Then from Saturday night to Sunday at 4 a.m. On Sunday, the Chinese Grand Prix. And at 3:45 a.m., that is 15 minutes before. We already opened our broadcast on another channel. I always explain here what it's about. It's not that I'm creating another channel. I'll use the same channel, our beloved Splash and Go on YouTube, the one you're watching now. But it's there that we have a project called Another Channel, so you have another channel to watch, besides the already traditional ones. We offer you an alternative. We don't have the Formula One images. We're just about $12 million short of acquiring the rights. But you can watch there, lower the volume, and listen to us here. We did the last 6 stages of last year, and in this 2025 season, we are once again bringing this initiative to you. Okay? So, at 3:45 in the morning, Mateus Ornelas will be narrating, I'll be commenting, and we'll go together. We broke our audience record in the last live stream. More than 4,000 devices simultaneously connected. We say devices because many people watch and follow along, so we don't know how many people were watching us. But we also reached almost 60,000 views. This is what a race in the middle of the night is like. So, join us. We are already audience leaders in this programming as well. Come with us, have fun, watch the Chinese Grand Prix with us on another channel. This week on Tuesday, an episode very special, telling the story of the 10 geniuses who changed the course of Formula One. Andy, Cowell, John Barnard, Jordan Murray, Adrian Newey, Colin, Chapman, Ross Brawn, Rory Byrne, a heavyweight group. Each one in their area changed the course of the sport. It's worth watching. On Wednesday, the small great story of when an unidentified flying object ended the dream of another Ferrari 1-2 finish in Monza. It was in 1995 and it was quite unusual. So leave a like, it's free, it costs nothing, you know. It helps this channel a lot. Do it for me, do it for us. After all, a video depends on two ends. One who stays here, the crazy one talking, and you who watch. The work is minimal, just do this and leave a like. Also do the following, comment down below. Who do you think will win the Chinese Grand Prix? Or if you don't have a guess, tell us from which city in Brazil you are watching us, because I always show this to our potential advertisers. And look here, our audience is national. So tell us, I'm watching from São Luís in Maranhão. I'm watching from Xique-Xique. I'm watching from Passo Fundo. I'm watching from Chuí. Let us know. In the live streams, I always say this and people share. And it's always impressive how there are people from all over Brazil and sometimes from outside Brazil, like Portugal, Mozambique, Angola. I ask you to do this and comment, because the algorithm distributes videos further when they have comments, likes, and hype. This new tool from the algorithm is for you to tell it that you like the channel, the videos, the work, so you don't miss anything. We have our social media here, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, TikTok, where there's content all the time. This way you won't miss out on anything, all right? So that's it. Thanks. Have a great weekend. See you in the videos we have here. Still on Friday, Saturday, and in the 2 live streams on Sunday, another channel and post-race at 6 p.m. Thanks. And a big hug.